All right. Welcome to this celebration of love between Neil and Dan. My name is Jane, and I'm thrilled to be part of this very special day. This isn't just another wedding. It's part of a much bigger, more beautiful, and more important event in human history. On December 10th, 1948, the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It proclaims a simple but powerful idea that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And with that declaration, it was made clear that rights are not conferred by government. They are the birthright of all people. It doesn't matter what state or country we live in, who our leaders are, or even who we are. Because we are human, we therefore have rights. Now, it's taken a long time for this Declaration of Rights to turn into something really tangible, at least in this country. And as Neil and Dan told me, we are two people who never thought we could be married. But now here we are, in a park, under a tree, in Delaware. With two men who have loved each other for many, many years and who now finally have the right to be legally wed. 15 years ago, Dan and Neil met, wait for it, in a bookstore. They were both, of course they were, writers. Even though that's not what either of them did for a living, still that's what they were. Neil was reading poetry, and Dan showed up because a member of his writers group thought that Dan would like Neil. And it turns out he was right. Even though Neil fought it because he thought Dan was too young. Luckily, Dan refused to give up, and Neil and Dan fell in love. Over the years, many promises were made and kept, or not kept, or changed because they were foolish, or grown because they were wise. There were both joys and disappointments. A marriage license will not change that. In your future together will surely be more joys and at least some disappointments. A marriage license is not a magic pill or a winning lottery ticket, but it is why we are here today. To give Dan and Neil the chance to have the life they want and the chance to love who they want legally. Under the law. Because finally Dan and Neil do have the right. To this world of no you can't and it is not done, we're here to say today, yes, love can, and yes, love does. There's an old Chinese proverb that I strongly believe to be true. When there's love in a marriage, there's harmony in the home. When there's harmony in the home, there is contentment in the community. When there's contentment in the community, there is prosperity in the nation. And when there is prosperity in the nation, there is peace in the world. I really like that proverb, and I do believe that love can literally change the world, and Neil and Dan will be part of that change. All right, now if you don't mind, I'd like to give you two some advice. As you go through your life together, I ask that you both remember every day to love your partner with all your heart and all your might. This sounds like such a small thing, especially today of all days. But you'll face moments when it's the hardest thing in the world. Don't let the little stuff get to you. Don't try to win every argument. Remember, you'll often have a choice between being right and being happy. I ask that you let go of your ego and your pride and choose happiness. This isn't something that will come naturally. You'll have to think about it and work at it. Sometimes it will be easy, but there will be times when you feel angry, frustrated, and want to give up. Sometimes it is so hard to get past ourselves and put our spouse first. But that is the very essence of successful relationships. It's not easy to be married if the word would not be such a precious thing in this world. Treat your marriage like your most prized possession. In the future, in times of stress, I hope you can think back on this happy day and remember these words. All right, please hold each other's hands and look deep into each other's eyes. Dan, will you take Neil to be your husband? Will you try with all your might to always love Neil, even when he is not so lovable? hold your marriage in your heart like the precious object that it is, even while knowing that life is short and all things of this world shall pass? Will you give Neil a shoulder to lean on even when you are exhausted? Will you share with Neil your comfort, joy, and wisdom even when it would be easier to be cold, unkind, or silent? Will you be Neil's husband? Neil, will you take Dan to be your husband? Will you try with all your might to love Dan even when he is not so lovable? Will you hold your marriage in your heart like the precious object it is, even while knowing that life is short and all things of this world shall pass? Will you give Dan a shoulder to lean on even when you are exhausted? Will you give Neil your comfort, joy, and wisdom even when it would be easier to be cold, unkind, or silent? Will you be Dan's husband? All right, Neil and Dan have something they'd like to say to each other and to all of you.
Set before you here and now,
present this and every day,
the follows after come what may,
to see you as you truly are,
to stand as full and shining star,
beloved and beloved both,
neither needing nor receiving truth.
forever is a fairy tale.
Change will come.
Still we stand as best we can. As I love you.
The great Rainer Maria Rilke once said, "Once the realization is accepted that even between the closest human beings, infinite distances continue, a wonderful living side by side can grow, if they succeed in loving the distance between them, which makes it possible for each to see the other whole against the sky." You've been through so much already as partners, and yet today is just the beginning. You are in new territory, side by side. Now your journey together starts. And so, ladies and gentlemen, although the state of Pennsylvania has not yet seen reason and granted to all its citizens equal rights under the law, her accommodating neighbor has. So it